ahead and get started. I have two changes to propose to the agenda. The first one is to, under action items, delete number 2 until the May meeting. There's a lot of planning going on right now, and at this point, you know, we wouldn't have any details to give you. You know, we've got some money, but what are you going to do with it? Well, you need to know that. What are you proposing? So, that should be ready in May. The other thing would be to delete item number 6 under action items until April, because we're not able to get sufficient advertising in the paper to go ahead and approve it today. Any other changes?
Number 2, we're not approving resolution concerning the donation.
No. I mean, that's my proposal is that we don't. Or at least not at this time. I don't know that we can do that without how it would be used and what it would mean to us in terms of additional funding. So,
Getting away with 2.
do we actually have anything to do on that?
Well, y'all got that version 7 if you wish to discuss it. I did get some comments back from Mark Chastain, and I don't think I've gotten any comments. Karen's not here. I don't think I've gotten any feedback. There is a change or two that's after, and it always occurs after I develop that version that I thought that needed to be in there, and I'd like to talk with Jim about it before I introduce it. But actually, I'll go ahead and speak about it. Driveway connections, and when they're tying into an asphalt or a triple surface driveways and new construction, I think we've had that issue occur out there on the Yellow Road, that surface needs to be paved back up to where the right of way, and maybe even a little further if it's a new driveway approachment. And Jim, I'm just now talking about that. Is that something that you agree about, to keep that stone from running off onto the surface?
I don't disagree with it. I mean, you're talking about a driveway apron.
Yeah.
And where it connects into the paved road. It's a constant problem.
Yeah. For y'all don't have a sweeper or anything to keep it out?
Well, we do have a sweeper, but I mean, we have other things to do rather than chase down stone on driveways for incorrectly constructed driveways.
So, but if y'all wish, I mean, I guess before burying into that topic, I think there may need to be some conversation, just a brief, maybe 5 minutes. You talking about adoption?
For today, something that
March 31, before the end. So we want to do something for the end.
I think after today's meeting, y'all can give me some direction on some of the input or some of the questions that Mark had. I can do a version 8, and that should be the final draft. Maybe have a special call in the middle of the month to authorize the advertisement and move forward on it. Remember, it has a 15-day notification requirement. It's a little different than the charter provides, because you're dealing with the zoning protection or zoning involved on that. So it's got a 15-day notice. So once we get this version 8 finalized, it should be the final draft, and then we'll need to make sure that we're going to stay within a 15-day advertisement period. Okay.
anything else? I make a proposal that the motion that the agenda be approved as modified.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Kevin, you want to give us an update from Parks and Recreation?
Good morning. I don't have too much. Just, baseball season starting up right now. We had our player evaluations Monday night. We had approximately 340 players between baseball and softball, so those numbers are kind of in line we had right before COVID hit. So it's like we may be getting back to normal as far as athletics. The draft takes place tomorrow, and then we'll start back on Mondays. With the weather breaking, it's like when we started back on the fish park playground, getting our fix up, and curving up, and rubbing mulching. The warm weather hits. And the addition on the concession stand at Clear Creek is almost finished. Just some little things to finish up, the serving windows, and a little bit of painting. Other than that, the middle school has been using it already for their concession stand, so it's operational. It's just some tidy up to do. Other than that,
I have a question for you. Someone asked me if they could use the river access there at the park. I said, yeah. I said, yes, I can put your boat in, park in that parking space down by there and walk your boat to that access. Is that correct?
yes, they went on down the Carters that way.
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep, okay,
yeah,
that's what I
they
thought.
won't go up and do that.
Okay. Perfect.
Any other questions? Thank you, Kevin. Update on the golf course tonight.
Good morning. You have in front there February. Doesn't look like a whole lot, but it's over what we did last year. I don't know how that is with the weather we had in February. We were closed total of 9 days. And that's no doubt, that was just because of rain and whatnot. And we still did better. So that's positive. Rounds are up. We're down a little bit on memberships and stuff. Thank you guys. But rounds, the number of rounds, the number of people that are actually playing are up. So that's positive. I was telling Hubert, I think what we're going to do is things are going to warm up. They are now. We're just going to pick up where we left off. I don't see this thing slowing down. We had a great year last year. I think this year is probably going to be better. Strictly by just the number of rounds that we've already done. And this we've not had any really pretty days. So I mentioned last month about tournaments, and I was a little concerned about it. We've got 4. And 1, I think, signed up. We've got 4. And what I'm trying to do, I met with one a couple of weeks ago, is push all these to the Wednesday. It doesn't make sense for us to have them on Saturday. I met with them. They always had their tournament on Saturday. It was just one of those that had to have it on Saturday. I met with them. We got them to do it. It's just better for everybody if we do that. They wouldn't make near the money and we wouldn't either. So I wouldn't be doing my job if I let them have it on Saturday for work. So they understand that. It's going to be better for everybody. On that side of the course, the enclosures we talked about last month, they will be installed on the 25th. Don't know how many days it takes to do it. So I'd say it takes a couple of days, and that building will be done. So, as far as the course, things are greening up with this weather. I see a lot of green grass out there, which is positive. It's close to cutting grass now, but projects. We got our dirt haul. We're still hauling it for our tees that we had approved. Pre-emerge will go out on the 23rd, and then I'll verify probably toward the end of the month. Other than that, that's all.
That's great. You may want to speak to the chamber, and I see our chamber president back there, but Jennifer, about doing a ribbon cutting for the new edition for the,
Yep.
once it's finished.
Absolutely, when we get it done, clean it up. I'll be good.
Great.
Thank you, man. Update from Public Works, Jim.
Good
Good morning, everybody. This beautiful weather is really a pleasant thing for us. We're finally able to get back into some sense of normalcy. Before I start with the report, I want to tell you that in the road department, what we are doing during the month of March, and this is every day that permits, we are working 10-hour days. And that is to catch up from quarantines and also to, because of our short staff. We are 6 people short in the road department, 1 person short in the maintenance shop, and 1 person short in solid waste. So let me start out with the airport. The only thing that I have to discuss with you today is our trying to close out phase 3 of our runway safety project. We have a contractor, Graham County Land Company, that we seem to be having some difficulty with, and I respectfully request a brief executive session after the meeting to discuss that with you and county attorney. You have a copy of the engineering report, all of you do, so you can see there that we basically have no grass in the area, and we need to take action to try to get the contract to either fulfill the contract or do something else. As far as the road department is concerned, the Old Blacktown slide, we have started back to work on that. I guess you saw evidence of that yesterday. We are trying to get all of the trees and debris removed, and then the next step will actually be the excavation. We have 3 months remaining in the extension that FEMA has granted us, and it's my plan to have that project finished in the next 3 months. Another FEMA project, Tropical Storm Zeta. We have completed that debris cleanup to the tune of about $119,000, of which 75% will be paid by FEMA, 10% by the state of Georgia, and 15% local match, of which the road department gets to eat. Yes, yes, you're smiling. And so the 85% funds that will go into the county's general fund. But I do expect that revenue to be shown as a revenue item in the road department financials. The other thing that I want to discuss with you is during the month, the chairman and I participated in a Zoom meeting with Georgia DOT. This is concerning 2 bridges on State Highway 52 East. That it is their intention to replace those bridges in 2025.
Yes.
And we requested the meeting with them because of the detour route that they're proposing for highway. They're basically proposing closing Highway 52 East for a year. And for through traffic, they have a route proposed 136 to 53 for east and west traffic. For local traffic, one of the critical things to us is the lower Cartagena. And the chairman nor I seem to get an answer, a definitive answer from DOT as to when we can expect construction on that project. But we finally did get an answer. And Charlie, you correct me if I'm wrong. 2022.
August of 2020.
August of 2022, we can expect construction to begin on the lower Cartagena. Now that's as of today. Hubert, you shake your head. You dealt with them, so you know what it is. The other thing, and I think we have it on the agenda that I have discussed with the chairman, and that is the participation by local development on the improvement of Capitol Road. What we have there is, according to their survey, there is a section from where the county maintenance currently stops on Capitol Road to the Corps of Engineers property. And what we want to do, now that the road has been widened and paved, we want to come in and stripe it and put new signs and things of that nature. But we would like to be able to continue that on that section that is not Corps of Engineers property, but again, according to the surveyor, is a perpetual easement from Georgia Power for a public road. But what we would like to do is we would like to stripe it and maintain it up to the core property, so the road looks, it doesn't look piecemeal. It's new striping will go down, new signs will go up, things like that, and I think it would be dramatic improvement, not only for the people that have actually now purchased property on Capitol Road, but also for the users of the full property. But we'll talk about that later. Any questions on the road department?
Jim, I would like to say, in terms of our conversation with DOT about the bridge, Jim made the argument very effectively, I thought, that what needs to happen is DOT needs to move forward quickly on replacing the Lower Cartagena Road Bridge, so that that bridge will be replaced and be usable when they start replacing those other bridges and shutting down 52, because the detour route that they have for the through traffic, they'll stick with that. And they were clear that their detour had to be on a state road. And what Jim pointed out to them was that, that very well can be the case. They can have a detour for the through traffic, but for the local traffic, it wouldn't be designated as an official detour, but the people here would know, instead of going roundabout, that now they can just hit Lower Cartagena Road and go on to where they need to go. So the argument was made that what they really need to do is move construction up on the Lower Cartagena Bridge so that they can be in place by the time they start shutting the road down for the other two bridges. So, and they said they'd get back to us. We haven't heard anything,
But they didn't disagree.
they didn't disagree. But Jim was very persuasive, I thought, on that, and made a good argument for it.
Okay, solid waste. One of the things that happened during the month is the GFA loan application was submitted for the lift station at the landfill. So that is in place for their GFA board's May meeting now. process, or our engineers are in the process with the applications, the different permits that we have to have from EPD. Number one is the stream buffer variance to allow for the construction within that stream buffer. And number two, because this is considered a major modification to the landfill itself, then EPD has to approve that as well. And so we have, our engineers have applied for that, and the waiting time, 45 to 60 days, as Kirk explained. From an operational standpoint, I think you have a copy of the monthly report that we submit to you as far as our volume in the solid waste department. It continues to rise, and we are dealing with that. But the fortunate thing, as you will see in the financials, is that with the rate changes, the revenue for our construction and demolition waste is substantially better than it has been in years. But and hopefully that stays that way. The volume that we're dealing with now in construction and demolition waste is probably twice or 3 times what it was when we entered into the contract with advanced disposal, which is now waste management. This year, the chairman and ourselves will be involved in either renegotiating the contract or putting that project out for bid for a new vendor. But at this point, I haven't heard anything from waste management or waste disposal other than the one email that you received, Charlie, saying that they're going to be closed and they weren't closed. Okay. But that's all I have. Any questions?
I want to thank you and Charlie for whoever making this decision to let the Keep Gilmer Beautiful groups go back out again. And am I correct in that I have lots of emails saying, come on, there's lots more trash coming out there. So they're anxious to get out and help, which we so appreciate. But so to be clear, they can pick up their bags and their cone and all the things from
yes,
the road department.
We have a process in place where they pick up the orange bags and the wrappers. But one of the things that we had to cut back a little bit for the mountain biking folks at Mulberry Gap that had an event, I guess, last week.
They did.
And they wanted like 20 wrappers and stuff like that. And those wrappers are not cheap.
Yeah.
And so we said no. We did give them what wrappers we had, Karleen, and asked them to return them because, they're having a field day event and stuff like that, and we want to try to cooperate with them. But yes, that is back in place.
Yeah, and I will, that Mulberry Gap did a great cleanup, and we were part of it last year. They cleaned up the Cuda Wilderness, and a lot of the part is in Gilmer County that doesn't get affected. So anyway, they do a great job, one-day cleanup, and I appreciate you. I guess you let them dump all that.
Oh yeah, it's free.
It's important to clean up those forests too, so thank you, Jim.
Probably a discussion for another day, but if we could eliminate roadside waste, rather than having to pick it up, somehow we've got to educate the public or take action to find people who are littering.
Well,
It's a real, I mean, we can pick up, and that's great, we all pick up, but that doesn't solve the problem. So sometime later, we need to,
well, now, the Gilmer Youth Committee, they're doing a tremendous job in their attempts, both printed material, presentations, and things like that, for educating the public. And they have their own method for doing that, presentations to schools, groups, and things of that nature. Now, the enforcement part of it, that's you. You know, we're not enforcing.
Actually, we're not either, that's going to be the sheriff.
Well, but you gotta have the laws in place to be able, for the sheriff to be able to do it.
Well, I've had a conversation with the sheriff, and we have the laws in place. The problem is, there has been eyewitness to the dumping of trash. It's
well, as much,
some way to put it back.
and I don't want to get into the sheriff's business, but as many deputies as we see one up and down the road on business, I'm not questioning what they're doing, surely they'd see some, and let's take note of that and let's find them. That's the only way I think you're going to really slow it down.
Let's not beat up on the sheriff too much, because one of the
I didn't
things
think to be
that
the from the sheriff.
we have done, that you see in your report, that you get monthly. And again, we contributed, in cash, for the sheriff to be able to hire a deputy, where they put inmates out picking up, and you'll see the roads and the report there on a monthly basis as to what they do. So he knows this, he sees it, and stuff, but as far as how we go about enforcing it, that's a conversation that is not public works. We just try to keep the mess clean.
And Hubert, back before me, there was the ordinance that came into place for any of the commercial trash pickup groups, or even construction, I guess, any trash that you see coming off a truck, correct? That we have an ordinance in place to penalize them. And I actually saw one.
Require that they have a cover.
Right, and to require that they have a cover. So I guess we can report them even if they don't have a cover for the trash.
The cover, many times, is not adequate. You can see it,
Yeah.
but anyway. that's for
Well,
another day.
I did see one on 515 that was spilling a ton of trash, and I took a quick picture of that license plate and gave it to Jim, and they took care of all of that for me.
Well, if it's our vendor, you know, advanced disposal or waste management, we can deal with that, because that's in the contract. That's a contract for us to do. But for individuals, and you have a code enforcement section, and you know, that's part of their job, and you have the sheriff. That's part of their job. Our job is just to try to clean it up. You know, but like Hubert says, that's a conversation for another day.
Thank you, Jim.
All right. That brings us to citizens wishing to speak. Anybody that would like to speak on any topic? Except Tom.
Morning.
Good morning.
Welcome back, I'm glad all three of you are here. I hope you got your shots.
Yes.
Me too. Touching on topics that I hadn't planned to say anything about, HEB is one of them. My subdivision, Buckhorn Estates, POA, was the adopter of White Cat for several years. We unfortunately lost our leadership in that area, and now we've got new leadership in that area. But Riverbend is now doing that, and that's great. And someone else, and we're going to augment them as best we can. I wanted y'all to be aware of that. I have a question that I've had every month, and it will be continuing. Are we going to fix the pavement on White Path, on Cherokee at Shenandoah that was not adhesively set down? And if so, when? And in addition to that, since we had a water main break from the golf course, and we had to cut all the way across Shenandoah, that too needs to be repaired. And just wanted to continually mention that because that's what I'm supposed to do.
Jim, you want to respond to that?
My response is going to be the same that I've responded to Tom many times.
Sure.
Well, first of all, on the roadside pickup. Now, I understand that Buckhorn has relinquished its responsibility for picking up on White Path, and someone else is doing that now.
Right.
And the signs have been changed. They are just standing and talking to my assistant, and she educated you on that. On the inadequate pavement on Cherokee Drive, it does need to be fixed. We can't do it until we got good weather. I just reported that we're working 10-hour days during the month of March trying to get caught up. Paving is not one of the things that we're doing during the month of March. It is the mundane, everyday grading and graveling of gravel roads and pothole patching and culvert cleaning and things like that. We would expect in April to be in a better position to actually start some of the paving. Part of the paving will be done with tar and chip. The part that Tom is talking about up there is actually hot. And that will be done too. But it will not be done in March. April is our target date to actually start.
So Tom, the answer to part one of your question is yes. The answer to part two of your question is someday.
Yeah.
Seems to be the same one I got last time.
Yeah, it probably will.
Well, it's the same
I
question
totally
again.
understand that, but I still have to bring it up. Deeply appreciate everything that Jim does and everything that y'all do. And until April, I'll be here watching.
Thank you, Tom. Anybody else? If not, next item of business is discussion of possible action of county swimming pool. Or would you like to update us on that?
Yeah, I'll start out by saying that we finally got a spec book, and David and I are in the process of reviewing the spec book, and probably towards the end of next week, we should be able to get everything reviewed. There's about 40, 50 pages here. I'm correct on that, Dave? We got to
I think it's
review.
73.
73, okay, I'm a little shy, so anyway. So anyway, but hopefully by the end of next week, we will have a bid package that we can I'll present to you. And so if you want to do a special call meeting or something like that,
I think we've already approved putting it out for bids.
it's already approved.
So just
Okay.
whenever it's ready,
Okay.
we should get it going.
Okay, okay. So David and I are working on it, so I talked to David if you need information.
All right. Thank you, Lloyd. Discussion and possible action on revised land use ordinance. Maybe here's where we need to have our discussion.
Yeah, there's just,
Version eight.
just about 3 issues that remain. The first that's still under development is the hobby livestock, and I'd shared with Mr. Bushy an email asking him for some input. We haven't actually had an opportunity. Did he contact you, Charlie? Okay. I don't think he's finished his thoughts and collected them and everything to share with us, his suggestions. The second would be with respect to the right-of-way, Jim, and you might as well come back up to the podium and make that trek back up if you don't mind, please.
I didn't bring my copy with me.
Sure. This is in the abstract. This is the issue as to the specified 60-foot right-of-way. I shared with you an email that, and when I refer to Mark does the lion's share of the subdivision or subdividing property in Gilmer County. So we're going to get most of our input from him. It's not a reflection that we're relying on him. It's just that we're getting a large percentage of our input. But that right away, and then he had made a comment, I think most of y'all, I thought I had included with, was that the GDOT had dropped that 60-foot right-of-way requirement funding back when they did away with the OLR program years ago, about 10, 12 years ago. And his input was that they pretty much just require adequate right-of-way. I expressed some concern in my reply back to Mark that I was a little concerned about going back to in that direction. And I was just because GDOT changes their mind about every 10 years. It's a bureaucratic thing. They just change their mind. And
Plus the changes that he was pointing out, they were urban changes.
Yes.
Where curb and gutter was required, not shoulders and ditches.
Sure.
And things like that. So to me, the two don't compare.
Okay.
When you're looking at urban construction with curbing and guttering and things like that, yeah, that can require less right of way. But when you're talking about rural construction, where you've got shoulders and ditching and drainage, then 60 feet is not that much, really. And I just point to the commissioners, the one that I like to use as a model that we did recently in the last, I guess, 2 years, is Ridgeway Church Road. That was a single lane gravel road. And what we, the road department, did is we went in, we acquired from 23 property owners the additional 60-foot right-of-way. And as you can see in that example, we used all of that right-of-way because we cut all of the trees, so we didn't have fallen trees to deal with in the future. We put 3-foot shoulders, we put ditching and piping, and we don't have a whole lot of space, excess space at 60 feet. So the argument that Mark is making because GDOT dropped it to a 40-foot right-of-way, I think in Fulton and Gap, that doesn't apply to you.
Okay, and it sounds like your recommendation would be to continue to maintain the 60-foot.
I strongly recommend that we maintain a 60-foot right-of-way.
Okay, and that's just where I need the direction from the board, if y'all wish to continue that in the text of the ordinance as it's been drafted, is the 60-foot, so.
I'm good.
Okay. So again, that leaves the hobby livestock. The other question is more of a procedural aspect with respect to the continuation of the moratorium. My recommendation is going to be that y'all extend the moratorium from the March 31 deadline until probably, if we can get this, when would the May meeting be, Atlanta? What day? my recommendation is that tomorrow night y'all adopt a resolution extending that moratorium until May 13th? Okay, until May 13th. Is that the Thursday meeting? Okay. And have it sunset at midnight that day. Okay, and then hopefully by then you will have adopted the revisions. Will be on version 8 at that time. And that would close out this ordinance change. Now, there does probably need to be one more special call meeting or workshop, however y'all wish to call it. I would probably suggest you do it as a meeting, so if you need to take any action at that time, you could take action somewhere later on in this month. So is that something that y'all could consider?
Sure.
Okay.
It'll be usual.
Yeah, and again, recognizing that 15 days, let's see, when we meet April at 8, it really probably needs to be some point, sometime next week, if at all possible, if your schedules would permit. Maybe,
Thursday, Friday next week.
how about the Monday, let me check, but would Monday the 22nd be possible?
I'm good.
I'll have to check as far as I know.
What I'll do is following the meeting, I'll get with Edwina to figure out where our deadline is as far as submission for advertisement and make sure that we're good on that. And if y'all can just pick a day before then, okay? But I think we're about very, very, very close. We should be able to wrap this up.
Anything else on that? Discussion and possible action on donating hotel and motel tax to the Tabor House. This is a request that we received from the folks that are leasing the Tabor House. We still own, the county still owns the Tabor House through the building authority, I believe. And we're responsible for the maintenance and so forth. There are some things that they would like done there at the Tabor House that we don't feel we can do right now because of the amount of funds that it would take to do that. And because it's not, something crucial to the integrity of the building, like roof leaks or that sort of thing. So, what they have asked is that we dedicate some certain percentage of the hotel motel tax to the Tabor House in terms of providing an income stream, I guess, to take care of and improve the Tabor House. As I understand it, this would not be used for things like leaky roofs or window replacements or that sort of thing. That would still come from the county. I said I would bring it to the board. So I guess the question is, what do both of y'all think about it? And if you're in favor of it, how much? The whole range of questions.
I'm not in favor of earmarking funds from the lodging tax for this purpose. I think once you do that, then you're stuck. If Tabor House ceases to, so.
Well, I would suggest Leslie go and speak. Keep referring to Jennifer because she's in our audience, but I would be referring to her even if she wasn't. But to go speak with the chamber and talk to them about what kind of advertising and marketing they're doing already. The chamber's also doing a grant process for those that are seeking funds, marketing funds from their lodging, hotel, motel tax. So the Tabor House could be available, could be a perfect recipient of that grant fund.
And I've had the conversation with them about that. They are legally restricted from anything other than marketing assistance. I don't think that's what they're looking for, what the Tabor House is looking for here.
That's what I understood you to say.
They, and in fact, they do already get some marketing assistance, I believe, from the chamber. And certainly could apply for the grants that you speak of, but again, it would be for marketing. I think what they have in mind is improvements within the building, physical improvements, that sort of thing. The chamber would not legally be able to do that. Now, having said that, we probably do need to do a little bit more than we have been out at the Tabor House, but I think that it needs to come from our maintenance budget. We generally fund the capital budget every year, and this year we put $150,000 in the budget for capital funding, not for the Tabor House, but for the courthouse and the downtown facilities. I believe that anything that could be deemed capital, we would probably do from that fund, within reason.
Sure.
You know, I'm not looking at half or a third of that fund for that sort of thing, but
I think the normal budget process would be the way to go if we do it.
which is essentially what we have now, and I would agree with that.
And I'm good with that. And I think, Leslie, if you're watching by chance, if you haven't reached out to Jennifer with the chamber she has, or you got a thumbs up? Anyway, but no.
No, but I want her to.
Okay, yes, Jennifer's saying yes, please reach out to her. I think if they help with marketing, that might increase their membership or their donations when tourists come. Because it is a tourist attraction, because it's our oldest building downtown. It's our only historic kind of building, so it fits the mark for it to be a marketing tourist attraction in that way. So I think they'll chat, and maybe we'll have better sense.
So, since we apparently are not going to be using any of this, the hotel motel tax to fund this, I don't think we even need a motion. We just move on.
Just delete it from the agenda tomorrow night.
Yeah. Okay.
Jennifer, it's a great building, you'll love it.
Okay.
And it's all we got left.
Well, I've seen some old buildings that they're not being used for anything historical, but they're very interesting.
Really?
Old churches, probably.
Yeah, that's good. I don't know what they're saying about it.
Okay. Adopting the first reader to Chapter 40 titled Public Access River Outfitting of the Gilmer County Code. We'll have our public comment session tomorrow night at 5:30. And beyond that, I don't know that we have anything really to discuss today, do we? Other than the fact that, and I notified y'all that we are, the engineering on that, take out even progress.
That's great. That's great.
And they've got some good ideas.
Good.
That's
No, it is good. It's great.
Okay.
Tony, you might tell them the Zoom meeting that we had yesterday involving the two outfitters.
Oh, yeah, we did, in addition to meeting out at the BOC site, we had a Zoom meeting yesterday with Croy and the two outfitters and myself and Jim. And got off to a good start. They had certain information they needed from the outfitters, and were able to get that. So it's my understanding that they have everything that they need now to move forward with it and come up with a design for us.
Good.
Discussion and possible action of extending county maintenance on House Public Road to the Corps of Engineers property. Jim's already mentioned that, but if you'd like to expound on it.
Has the board been out to visit that road?
I haven't.
It merits a visit.
It's great. I have
encourage
not-
you to visit.
I think they originally intended to triple surface that, but it appears that when I was out there, it's hot mix and it looks good. It really, they did an exceptional job and should be commended for the work that they did out there.
I saw it.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't seen it in the last 2 weeks, but I saw it before that, and it was fantastic.
Well, and if you saw that, Karleen, then you saw the area where our present county maintenance sign ends. Now, that section beyond that, up to the Corps of Engineers gate, is the section of road that I'm talking about. Normally, I wouldn't be coming to you and requesting that we take on the maintenance of additional road. But I think in this case, for the benefit of the Corps of Engineers, the county, the future residents on Apple Road and everything, that it would just be a better fit.
What's the distance of that?
It's about 3/4 of a mile,
Okay. Is that
up to the gate of the court, from where our present in-county maintenance sign is.
Okay, up to the gate where they closed off that section?
Well, you have the gate that turns to the right that goes down to the boat ramp, and then you have the gate to the campground.
Okay.
And just before that is Corps of Engineers property. All of that road from where our in-county maintenance sign is up to the Corps markings is, again, I have not verified this, but according to the survey, is a perpetual easement granted by Georgia Power for a public road. You know. So who maintains it? The Corps actually did the original paving, I guess, years ago there, but the maintenance of it today is kind of up in limbo.
Are you talking about taking over what's
I'm
been
talking
paved
about,
only?
I'm talking about taking over that section of road.
It's been paved.
No, the part that has been paved, Hubert, was our road.
Right.
The section that I'm talking about taking over is the section that is already paved. It needs striping, it needs signage, and things of that nature that I can't legally do if it isn't a county maintained road.
What shape is it in?
The pavement is in fair shape, but got a few potholes that need to be taken care of. But the striping is atrocious. And what I would like to do is when we stripe half hole, I would like to continue on and stripe that section of road and put up a new sign.
And Jim, how much is there before?
A mile.
1 mile is before that paved area, okay, and then there's that. And are you wanting to include that?
It's already county. It's
I know
out.
it's county, but I
Yeah.
mean, it's kind of old paved or chip and gravel
The
some sections?
pavement that the Corps of Engineers put on there, I believe it's hot mix, but it's old. And so, you know, it's probably 20, 30 years old.
But I don't see that it would need to be repaved.
No, I'm not talking about repaving, I'm talking about having the legal authority.
But if we take it and it
It's
needs to
ours.
be repaved, it would be ours to do. So it would be
Down here
important to
trying to
me.
sitting here, so.
So it would be important to me that it doesn't need to be repaved for the next few years.
Right. And the pavement is in good enough shape. It another 5 years or so, but the striping needs to be done. And signage needs to be done, and things of that nature. And we just need to look at it.
So from 282 to Holt, what's that road called again?
That is Dotson Road.
Dotson.
Yeah.
That's not in great shape.
That's not what I'm talking about.
I know,
Carleen.
but I'm just going back to say that does
That's
continue on.
county
your own.
maintained road.
Okay. Okay.
Jim, are you asking them to consider action tomorrow night? Because I haven't
Well,
seen.
what I was hoping, David and I, Charlie and I have been talking about this. I've placed a call to Georgia Power and also to the Corps of Engineers, and I have not gotten a response. So, it's just a discussion item today. I'm not necessarily asking for action
Okay.
until I get feedback from the other two parties.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we would have to have some sort of formal dedication of that easement to the county
Yeah.
before you can do any work there.
Well, and I don't know, you know, if it's a perpetual public easement by Georgia Power, you're the legal leader.
Public won't rise to the level of county,
And Georgia Power may say no.
and they may, but I suspect they would with the, everything that's gone on up here lately, so I'd be surprised. But Karleen makes a good point, you have to go over pretty much an inferior road to get back to that really nice road, so I do agree with her on that one, that one may merit some consideration for resurfacing at some point in time too.
Oh, well, look, it's on our list. We dealt with beaver dams, everything else that you can see there. We constantly are having to deal with that, and we've got a lake on one side that the property owner, you know, they're not going to do anything. So we're constantly out there. Yeah, but I'm talking about specifically this section.
Yes.
What we need to do, Jim, out there where we've got the beaver dam and it overrides the road there, see if we get DOT to build a bridge for us.
Or if you're gonna say that.
Lots of
get
luck.
that gentleman that came before, said, take care of the beaver.
I'll be over here. Okay. Discussion and possible action changes to the road paving list. I get requests all the time to pay people for roads, and I'm telling them, well, it's not even on the list, and they say, please put it on the list. And I generally just say, okay, and add it to the agenda. So I have one request, got it several weeks ago. And honestly, right now, I don't have a clue, I couldn't tell you which one it was. I've got it written down at my desk, and I will tell you tomorrow night which one it is. I neglected to write it down on my agenda before I got here. So there is a road that I will ask to be added tomorrow night. Which brings us to, we got several rezonings to consider here. The first one from Lloyd and Gloria Clark, from R1 residential low density to A1 agricultural.
Sorry, I was looking to see if Fran was here.
I understand that they want to combine this R1 property with current A1 property that they have.
I have no problem.
I have no problem.
Karen, is their property, does that continue across Riverhill Lane?
No.
No, in our diagram, it's highlighted like it does, so I was confused. I drove out there and looked at it. Their vineyard looks pretty nice, they've done a good job. But the,
But the 2-acre tract that they bought was part of a 4-acre tract. And it did cross both sides of River Hill, but they only bought the portion that was on the same side as what they already owned.
okay. Okay, so that's, okay. Just looks like in our photo that it goes across, so I was curious.
So,
I'm okay.
next one is Rael Chowdhury and Saida Hussaini. Oh, I got close on those. From C1 commercial to A1 agricultural, they would like to build a home on it. Plant fruit trees and a large garden, is my understanding. Personally, I have no problem.
No problem.
Any, I guess you'll let us know if anybody.
There was no one at the meeting to,
Okay, Dominic Morrow and Marley Restivo from R1 Residential and NCA A1 Agricultural, and they would like to build a second home on the property. Was there any opposition to that?
the people at the church next door did have a opposition, and that was just they were wanting to see if they would agree to have the cows blocked off and getting close to that property line, but inside the borders of the church because of the smell. So, I'm not sure if Mr. Morrow's intent is to fence it off where they wouldn't be able to get over there next to that side of the property or not, but, that would be my recommendation.
To require them to fix it off?
Yeah, to just fence off the cattle where they don't get over there next to the church, so, because it does butt up to the property next to the church. And that was the only person that maybe had a question or a problem.
Does he have cattle now that has that proximity to the church?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he still does not, because he just bought it end of last year, and, Bill got prepared property up to that point for the conference. If I were here, the caretakers for the property, and I think there may have been some cattle on it at that time, but I don't know if it's still there. And the gentleman that was here for the church just said that, he knew in an agricultural zone, they could have, a lot of cattle, not intensive, because it's not quite 20 acres, but considerable. They just wanted to ask if they might allow them over there next to that, for their church.
Was he speaking for the church or for himself?
For the church.
How are you going to determine how far is adequate for the church?
Well, the same side of the property where the church is where he's going to put a driveway up to the new home that he's going to build. So it seems reasonable to me to have the cattle fence off on the other side where the home is. And that way they wouldn't be in front of the house and the driveway and things like that. It might be reasonable to ask them to fence it off if they don't have them beyond where the house is going to be. Because that's
I
where
wonder
the
how
area of
effective-
pasture is anyway, I believe.
I wonder how effective it would be though, because those smells travel a very long way.
Yeah, I don't know that it would completely solve the problem, but in all honesty, there's a 19-acre tract, and even if they didn't get this, they could have one cow for every 2 acres of pasture.
Still about the church.
Anywhere on the property, because there's nothing to the hobby livestock that says you have to fence it off at any point. You have to have 2 acres of pasture per large animal, so that it wouldn't prevent it from having the cattle that we got turned down. That would be, it might actually be something that you just need to work out with them and decide.
I think it would be proper to ask him to do that. I'm not sure it would be proper to require him.
Yeah, and he's a reasonable man, I think, but he may already have an intention, he may not be thinking that. I mean, he did mention to me anything about that.
So you got commercial on the other side of the church, but that doesn't bother them being open on Sunday.
Yeah, well, and that was the one where they changed the rules on the alcohol licensing to 1,000 feet from any church. That one was the one that was approved at that point, because it was about 1,050 feet to the church from the church. So that happened, and I'm sure they weren't happy about it, but because they met the minimum footage, they were like,
I'm fine with whatever you want to say.
I just hate to restrict it, not really know what we're restricting.
yeah, and like I say, you could ask him, and I don't know that it's his intent to have cattle on the property. And, if they have some sort of agreement between them that he'll ag would require them to use that.
Well, and Gilmer's an agricultural county.
And that was pretty much the board's response to that, objection. That it is an agricultural county. There are several farms there anyway. If we didn't have any, there are farms in the area.
That's what I thought, that's what I saw. There was a lot of agriculture all around it. It's not like it's a lot of residential.
I'm fine with approving.
I think that's well.
Next one is for William Hendricks from R1 Residential to A1 Agricultural, and this is to operate a small hobby farm. I assume that no swine.
Not to my knowledge, it's gonna be, probably some goats and a
I'm just kidding about it.
They've got a barn that has been there for a long time, because they used to operate a farm. So they operate a farm there.
I'm good. Personally, yeah, I'm good with it.
Yeah, there was no objection to this one.
When I pulled up the tax map, most of the properties around it were commercial. There were not a lot of ag because it's very much kind of city. It's just on the 5. But the ones that are commercial or residential right there do seem to have small farms or something. So when I looked at it, and that was.
Did you say there was or was not an objection?
There was money that was
Good.
All right. Matthew Chastain from A1 Agricultural to R1 Residential. And he is looking to split 1.5 acres from the property. I'm good with it.
Second.
Where is the 1.5 acres?
on, Old Pleasant Valley Lane. It fronts on Old Pleasant Valley Lane instead of Old Pleasant Valley Road.
Gotcha. I'm fine.
Okay, last rezoning is Robert Stone from R1 residential low density to A1 agricultural. And I have a question on it. It says they want to plant trees and add a home site, possibly combine with another tract, and put into conservation with continued timber use. I didn't think he could do all that, still put it in conservation. I guess if all he does is pick out a home site, but once he starts building.
Well, you can have that. It is, with conservation, they will deduct 2 acres from the amount of the property that's in conservation for the house, and it will not get conservation benefit. You can have, he's got another 35-acre tract behind it that they may or may not combine together, because they're trying to separate, it depends on, to have one tax bill or 2. And then they were thinking about the timber harvesting, conservation purposes, and then down the road, they mentioned, one day, if they don't put it in conservation, they mentioned one day that it's back to the board for commercial use buildings, maybe a bigger, I'm not sure about that, they're just kind of thinking about it, but for now, it's just to build and to put it in conservation.
Okay. What's the minimum on conservation again?
Tim?
If you want to put it on, you can use it.
Thank you, Karen.
Discussion and possible action on disposal of Corbin Hill property. We got 2 bids this time.
Corbin Hill?
What? No, I'm sorry. It says Corbin Hill, but
This lot is 15, what it will, possibly, that.
yeah, but I thought we had Kuswati on here too.
It is.
I don't have 15.
You didn't send him the
I don't have
location.
I've got 14 in the executive session. No, I mean, if it's there, it's there, I don't
We
have to see
we
it.
don't tell you everything's going.
Yeah, y'all got 15, I know. Okay. Hold on 15. Discussion and possible action on disposal of Corbin Hill property. What do we need, just an authorization to bid?
To go by civil bid like y'all done on the previous two parcels.
Anybody have a suggestion for a minimum bid?
Which property is it?
It's actually located up,
Is it a hanging man property?
that's,
We weren't gonna say that.
I'm sorry.
Hubert, if we don't get any good solid bids, we're gonna remember where that came from.
I'm sorry. I just didn't,
But yes, you got the right.
I'm fine with it. $1 was pretty good.
It did, didn't it?
I'll share it with some history there, but there's a branch up there. Actually, there is a branch that's named that, Hanging Hollow Branch, so that's how I come by its name, so.
I'm good with $1.
That's fine. I'm good with $1.
Actually, before I say that, we have one interest, one person expressed interest in, on the purchase of the different property.
That was the same person I was gonna mention, so.
That's up to them.
What, how much?
Yeah, so probably should be working on it.
I didn't look to see what the assessors had assessed at. That probably would be a good starting point, to be honest with you.
What would be,
See what the assessors have assessed at.
How many do you know who did it?
I believe it's around 2.5, 3 acres.
now this is landlocked, it can only be sold to the property.
There is an issue, there, a buyer may be, I don't want to suggest that it's a landlocked. There could be a solution. There is something, there's a disputed area portion of the property. I'll share that survey with y'all, but I don't want to suggest that it is a landlocked.
Well, landlocked is probably not a good term, right, which is my understanding, it can only be sold to an adjoining.
The easiest sell would be to an adjoining property owner. Let's, bear with me for just a second.
Why don't we just let the chairman come with a minimum for tomorrow night, and we'll decide then.
Yeah, we can set them up.
Yeah.
Is that okay with you?
I would. Sure.
Discussion and possible action in lieu of completion of the required streets and drainage improvements necessary for final plan approval and subdivision on Gates Chapel Road, Watersong Phase 3. To accept letter of credit and amount satisfactory to providing for and securing to the county the actual construction and installation of such improvements within a specified period of time not to exceed 1 year. Karen, that's yours.
Jim's thoughts on this too, because I did not get a chance to get out there,
This subdivision is Kendall Fenimore, and he did submit another letter of credit from Pickens County Bank, Community Bank, and it is for $50,000. Jim did a review, and that is adequate if they were to default. The county would use that money to finish the road.
This is phase 3.
Phase 3, which is the final phase.
And they completed the roads on phase 1 and phase 2, which was under just phase 1.
No.
Phase 2 has a letter of credit as well, that will not be after November. Would they have to have that finished before we can accept the phase 3 letter of credit, or can we?
I'll review that, but is there any reason, what's the delay on the phase 2?
We have scheduled for tomorrow a compaction test subgrade compaction test on phase 3 and a final compaction test on phase 2. And you have a letter of credit already in place for phase 2. And they have made the decision to go ahead and submit the letter of credit for phase 3, but I would anticipate, based on the conversation that I had with their engineers, they may be finished with it by the end of the month. Phase 2 and 3.
You think they'll be finished with the whole phase 2 and 3 by the end of the month?
Yeah, I probably shouldn't have said that. Will Ward is the engineer on the project, and Will's a get her done kind of guy.
But you feel confident in this?
I feel confident, not in that they will be finished by the end of the month, but the letter of credit, I reviewed both submissions, phase 2 and phase 3, and the $50,000 is about 150% of what would actually be required to do the project if the developer develops. We can't go on with it, we being the road department, because it's private roads. So the county would have to, if there was a default, the county would be responsible for hiring an outside contractor to go ahead and finish it up. Did I say that right, Dave?
Projects cost more than $50,000. So we get a road done. $50,000.
I thought I read in the ordinance somewhere that a developer could only have one letter of credit at a time,
I think you're right.
so therefore we couldn't approve it.
And again, I'll research that this afternoon, but I for
Well,
some
and the
reason,
other thought is, if they get a final action approval tomorrow before time for the meeting, and Jim has signed off on that final action approval, then the second phase letter of credit would no longer be needed. Because they would have completed that phase. Would that be sufficient, or do we have to have it removed before we accept it?
well, and if phase 2 would be completed tomorrow before the board would consider the letter of credit, that would be, I mean, they would then at that point in time only have one letter of credit being considered for approval. So
And that sounds like that may be the case.
It could be. I don't know until I get out there. No.
If there's no issue with the compaction test, can we leave it on just in case they do get approval?
yeah, I'm not suggesting that it be removed from the agenda at this point in time, because there's 24 hours still left, actually, a little bit more than that, so.
If there's nothing else.
Here's the drum roll.
No, not yet.
No,
We
Kusawati.
need a short executive session.
Well, no, the Kusawati, the Kusawati, you get to,
I thought he shared it with
All right, the infamous item 15.
you get to announce the 2 bids.
I do want rid of that, so we need to.
Do you have that? Good the bids?
I shared with them, I know when you return.
Number 15. Well, not, I think. Number 15. Okay. This is the bid for the lot that the county owns in Kusawati. And we received 2 bids.
I took the highest bid we had.
And I think you hit them there. What was it, $5 difference? Yeah. Okay, so Alex Birdbaum, $605.
Industry or so forth.
Okay, so I would imagine Marnell would be second highest bid. And kiss it goodbye. Okay, I sound like I was disparaging, it's a really nice lot, it's just that the county will never do anything with it, so. All right, we do, need to have a very short special executive session with no action anticipated. And I would make such a motion.
So,
All in favor?
Aye.
are we standing here?
You're a silly man.
That room actually may be in use this morning. And it being specifically this airport issue, we discussed if it's the airport issue, I don't see any reason it couldn't be discussed in here. Yes.
All right, all in favor?
Oh, you've already voted.
Okay, well, I
Here,
said-
so everyone else.
Okay,
You know, Charlie, Miss Barbara's had you rattled all morning.
let me tell you, yeah. No,
I stopped this for a moment.
it's, no, I don't 15.
Well, that's Atlanta's fault.
So, just, Charlie, will you let the people know, if we're gonna stay here, they need to step.
Oh, yeah, if you would, we're gonna do the